Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the
i68 podcast.
Ella. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So, Ella, kind of like go into what you do at church. What do you normally do for ministry?
I normally play piano or keys for youth, and I sometimes play for Sundays and kind of play bass for prayers and kind of wherever else anybody needs me, so kind of bounce around.
That's cool. I wanted to invite you on because I think this is a topic that is really important to a lot of people in our generation. I think more of our generation is going to college, and so I actually wanted to talk about college life as a Christian and kind of like it's been for you, because recently I've just transitioned into college, and it's like been really different from what it was like in high school. And I just wanted to ask you, because you've been going to college for I don't even know how long.
This is my senior year, so 4 years.
Yeah, so you're about to graduate. Talk about like where you're going, what career you're trying to get into, all that stuff.
Basically, I go to Northwest University, and like I said, I'm a senior, and I'm going for music education, so basically becoming a music teacher. It's something I've kind of been passionate about my whole life, and honestly, I didn't know I wanted to go into it in the first place. It took me a kind of a while, I guess, to figure out what I wanted. I wasn't that kid who was like, I'm going to be a music teacher when I grow up. It took me a bit, but honestly, after, a lot of praying, a lot of talking to people, talking to family, and I kind of thought it would be the best kind of, like logically, the best option for me, so.
Yeah. And what made you want to go to Northwest specifically? Because there's a lot of options in the Northwest. There's UW, which is probably a little bit harder to get into, but there's also Northwest, and then there's like some community colleges. So what made you want to go there specifically?
I applied to a bunch of universities, but I ended up sticking with Northwest just because it was the closest to my house. I knew I wanted to stay at home. And the other thing is I wanted to be involved in church, and I knew that like if I needed to go to Seattle every single day, it'd be quite a drive, and I just wanted to, because it's in Kirkland. It's a nice location. The school is very nice. I knew a couple people that went there. I knew their music program was really good. I knew that like it's obviously a Christian school, so obviously there's a lot of like Bible education involved, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was really excited to go there.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to be going there too, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
I haven't been there yet. I've only like checked out the campus like one time, but they have a lot of really good programs there. They had like good music program set up, and there's also a really good business program there.
Business and a good education, and I heard a good nursing program.
Yeah.
So,
And like the one thing I was really looking at was like a Christian college, because there's like, there's secular colleges and then there's Christian colleges that you can go to. So that's a big deciding factor. But for you, how did you know that going to college was like God's will for you, like in that path, in that season?
So, sometimes I wish I had like a big voice tell me, go to this university, choose this career, and everything will be fine. But honestly, like that's not how life works. And maybe it does for some people, but didn't happen to me. And so I constantly found myself asking, like, what is God's will for my life? There were many university choices. Like I could go out of state, but that, like, what about my family? Like I have 2 little siblings. They're gonna be like, who's this lady that comes every break? And I wanted to be involved in their lives as well. I wanted to stay in our church. I knew that. It took a lot of patience. It took a lot of prayer. It wasn't super clear at first. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do basically until my sophomore year of college. I think so. But it kind of all came together towards that time. But I had to talk to a lot of people. It wasn't just me. I had to pray a lot about it. And finally, I knew what I had to do for like my stability in the future. Well, I thought it was a stable job, and then COVID changed everything. Because I thought being a teacher would be a good option for me, because like I would have my summers free and all those kind of things. And like teaching, you can always find a good teaching position. But COVID kind of changed everything. But but still, like it's trying to find God's will in my life, and what does it mean for me today? Like, how can I, live that out? I used to think it was like, you have to drop everything, become a missionary, go preach on the streets, and that's God's will. But honestly, God's will is to draw closer to Him, to be sanctified. I think there's a Bible verse that says like God's will for us to be sanctified and eventually to spread His kingdom. And like, how does that look practically for me in my life? Like maybe as a teacher, as whatever else happens in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just those daily decisions to choose to be in God's will.
Yeah. I think maybe there's some people who are looking at college as an option, and they're like, okay, well, maybe I have to go to college because everyone's going to college. I remember in high school when like everyone was like talking about like what university they're going to go to. They're talking about going to out of state and they're going to have a lot of fun and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I should go to college, but everyone else is going. But I think some people are kind of being pressured into that position where they have to go, but it's not really for everyone. I know a lot of people in our church who are going into construction right away, and I'm like, that's not what I really want to do. But for them, like, I get it.
Yep.
Like that's where they're being led in life. And then there's some people who are like, okay, college is where I gotta go. I gotta acquire these skills, because that's kind of what you're doing in college.
Yep.
You're just like getting skills, and you're
For sure.
you're getting led into that spot. So,
Yeah.
what led you to pick your career specifically? So you said you wanted to do music
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
I knew I had to do something with music, and kind of the best option, because like if you want to become a performer, it's kind of difficult. You have to find your own band, and
Yeah, that's fun.
So honestly, I think teaching was just kind of a good option, because you can teach in a school, you can teach in like there's like little private like music studios around the area. If you have a degree and if you teach private lessons, it's like really good if you have a degree. So
Yeah.
there's honestly many options, and I was trying to find something that I could kind of use in many ways, not just, just music. I wanted to make something out of it.
Do you think like that's gonna be what is set in stone is like teaching students how to like like in music, like theory, all that stuff? Is that like your end goal, or is there like something else that you're trying to do eventually?
Honestly, right now that's the goal. I don't know what the future will bring, kind of what will happen in life, kind of like I said before, COVID kind of changed everything. So I'm not sure kind of what the next step will be, but for right now, that's kind of what I see is the best option right now.
I see. Yeah. So kind of like changing directions. How did you find balance? That's like one
Balance.
thing a lot of college students struggle with, is like,
For sure.
because I remember talking to my brother. He's like, there's like a certain point where he was just focused on school like nonstop. He's like, I gotta pay for school, I gotta focus on school, and then like church was being neglected, and other stuff. But then later on, he decided to bring in balance and start going to church more. So, what was that like situation for you? Like, how did you deal with that?
So honestly, balance is super hard, because I want to do everything and all at once. And freshman year, I found myself very burnt out. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, and honestly, like I was spreading myself too thin everywhere. And ministry was suffering, school was suffering, family was suffering, like everything.
Yeah.
So what I found is like prioritizing. I mean, maybe some people are good enough to like write out a bullet journal, like planner. It's not really for me.
Yeah.
But honestly, I had to sit down and like think about, okay, what am I going to truly go after? Like, what will have a lasting value in my life? Right now, like, what is my focus right now? Should I focus on school, ministry, and, keeping those balance between all those things? And I just learned that, I can't have everything all at once. I need to figure out what I need to focus on right now. And I learned that, like, I wrote this down. I cannot have a good next day if Jesus wasn't there in the present day. So, like, if I stayed up the night before, studying for all this homework the next morning, I would wake up, be super tired, running late. That means you didn't have time to, like, spend time with Jesus. You didn't have time to, do some other things that would have been kind of have a different impact on your day.
Yeah.
And so just prioritizing those things. People in school, if you're always staying up late, doing homework, your day, you can probably find some time in your day to spread out that homework. Maybe if it's like little by little, this is like very practical, but like I found myself doing this. Like I looked at my screen time. Screen time says a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's like you spend 1 hour on the Bible app and then 10 hours on YouTube. And it's like,
oh my goodness.
where can I be reusing some of those hours? And it was kind of It wasn't easy at first. It wasn't like cut and dry. I'm going to cut out YouTube out of my life. But it was little by little, reprioritizing those things, making time. My piano teacher always said, if you don't have time, make time.
Yeah.
Because everybody has the same amount of time in the day, but for some reason, some people are more productive with it. And find other ways maybe of relaxing or resting, like if you like to watch something, or I don't know, there's so many things people like to relax and whatever.
Yeah.
But find different ways of relaxing. Try to be productive all the time. So
Yeah, I'd say like a couple things that I saw like improvement in my life when I was in college was like doing like some activities, literally just going outside, going on a walk. Like literally sometimes I would go on a walk and I was behind on my Bible plan. I'm guilty, but I would just listen, and that calmed me down so much. I had a lot less worry in my life. And even like when I would go out like skiing to the mountains, like, and I was doing that and I came back, I noticed that my grades actually started to go up, even though I was spending time like doing these things. It kind of helped me relax and like relieve stress, because I noticed that like stress would constantly get in the way, and I'd be like so worried like I'm not gonna get like the grade that I want. But
yeah.
when I stopped worrying about that, and I like brought in God into my life, and I brought like Jesus's like, help on my life, like guidance, then I noticed that school was not as much of a worry for me, for sure. So, like, was church ever affected for you when you were going to college?
Kind of, like, I just wouldn't practice, and I mean, it's like you can kind of fake it, I guess, on stage, but it's not good. I knew it wasn't good for me. Like, I knew I had to kind of reorganize my life so where that I could find time for all those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically, because like if you decided school, do it. Like if you're putting your hand to the plow, like actually go with it, because then even in that you can be a light to the people around you. Like even if you have good grades, and you're involved in so many things, people are gonna be like, wait, how do you do that? Like maybe we can hang out, and there's your opportunity to talk to people. Like if you want to take time off in the future, for example, like I had to go like to missions trip to Mexico, and I was really scared of this one professor because he was super strict, and I was like, there's no way he's gonna let me go.
Yeah.
And even if he is, he's gonna fail all my tests because he's not gonna let me redo them. But I like prayed about it. I like went and talked to this guy, and he opened up, and he's like, you know what? Just because you were faithful and diligent in all of your other homework assignments, I'm gonna let you go, and I trust you. Like you can take those tests later on. And I was
nice.
like, whoa, that's so cool. And it's, if you really try, if you put your best foot forward, there's times where you won't succeed. There's times where you'll stay up super late, and you have to do all those assignments and pull all-nighters. But if you really try and you put effort in, people can really tell.
For sure, yeah, definitely. Was there like a specific moment where you were like super stressed out? I know stress is like number one thing for college students, but what was like a moment where you're super stressed out and you had to like kind of get out of that? Like, what did you rely on in that moment?
Basically, pretty much like every finals week, as soon as the semester's ending, those are usually probably the highest stress levels, just because everything's crashing down all at once. Because usually there's like Christmas program happening, or like a prayer marathon happens just to fall on finals week. And it was just time. I had to prioritize things. First thing, I keep saying that, prioritizing. But just to lay out those things and think about, okay, schedule. Okay, this part of the day I'm going to be studying. This part I'm going to be spending time with family. And then this part is like for church.
Yeah.
And it might not always work out, but just planning for those things and knowing what's coming and not giving in. So like I knew for myself, like I knew I had to be there at practice on Thursdays, and I knew I had youth on Fridays. I knew I was not gonna miss it. Like no way.
Yeah.
But there were other things in my life I could move around, maybe like hang out with friends. I could bump that, and to relieve some of that stress, because I was super stressed out. Like finals week sometimes it's just once you get there you'll know.
Yeah.
But it just took some time to kind of know what I really needed to do at that moment.
For sure, yeah. I think a lot of people think it's like the end of the world if, let's say, he like bombed a class or just an assignment.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Like college is expensive, and time is also expensive.
For sure.
And so, for a person who's younger, they're gonna be like, "Man, I really wish this didn't happen," but it's not the end of the world. Like, there's so much opportunity in the future, and if you're like doing well in every other area, and the most important thing is you have Christ as your center, like as your guidance, as like your foundation, then you're gonna get through the situation. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. But also to that, you can't use God as kind of as your excuse.
Yeah.
I remember doing that, like going to a test and I didn't study for it. And I was like, Lord, just guide my hand. Which
did that
answer
all
is
the
it?
time.
A, B, okay, C, circle C. That doesn't work like that. Don't try that at home, kids. But yeah, what you said. So like even if it's not the end of the world, but kind of that, that'll show you kind of where could you have maybe studied some more. Maybe it's a really difficult class. That happens too. Maybe talk to your professor. They're sometimes nice. They'll talk to you. They'll help you out.
For sure. And then, but there's also like a verse that, that's in the Bible. I can't remember where it was from specifically, but it was like, do everything for the glory of God. Like work for as if you're working for God, these like characteristics and that are like foundational for a Christian. Like they apply not only to work, not only to things outside, but of college, but also in college and in school. So it's important, like, if you're going to stick to college, like, be a good steward of your education. Like, really go at it, for sure. And what is college for everyone?
Ooh.
This is a big, like, question. Because I think we kind of went into it, but I want to know your answer. Like, is it for everyone?
So, like I said before, ask people around you. Ask yourself why you want to do this. Is it to, like you said, to acquire some skills? Maybe there's no other way of doing your dream job without attending college. And, ask your parents, are they for college? Are they against college? Are they really pushing you to get to college?
We got some people walking around.
Are they really pushing you to go to college? Like, why are we not? What are their expectations for you? If they're not, like, is money an issue? Are you willing to, maybe go get a part-time job? Are you willing to sacrifice some of your time to, help the family out? Like, is debt an issue? If that is, I wouldn't say it's probably the best option. Like, maybe take some time, get some money, you know, then go after college.
For sure.
So
I think there's so many different options to college. Like, you don't have to go to a university. That's what everyone thinks of when they think of college. Is like you got to go straight to university. But I was like trying to plan out my college education, and I'm like, should I just go straight to Northwest? And then I'm like, oh wait, I can just go to a community college, take like a couple classes, finish up one degree, and then I will just transfer those over, and it's gonna be a lot less expensive for me. So community college is like another option I have for people. People might think like it's too expensive. I can't go. I don't have the time. Well, then you can save money by going there if that's what you need to get through in life. But for some people, they're just like, I don't want that. I just want to get straight into my career, and that's okay. Like, construction is always there. You can always go into that. But yeah, I think it's important to know that there's so many different options.
for sure.
Yeah.
I've known like different kinds of people that took a gap year, people that did the community college thing, got all of their, what's the word? Like common classes, like the regular classes that everybody has to take. And they just transferred and they were completely fine. And honestly, it's just like kind of figure out what you want to do and like what is the best way of getting to that goal.
Yeah.
So sometimes it could be a 4-year college, could be 2 years, whatever associate's degree could be enough.
For sure.
Or, just whatever fits best.
There's also like, this is like kind of going into something else, but there's internships for churches too. We go to a G4T conference every year, and G4T internship is for younger people who don't really know what they're going to do in life, and they're just like at a still point, and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So if you're like kind of stuck in that area, I think you should go there too. Yeah. It's a good thing to consider. One person from our church is going there, and he said he's like learning a lot, and he's learning a lot of life skills. Yeah. And I think college, internships, all these things, they teach you a lot of life skills, which is really important. So there's a lot of different options.
Yeah.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to like any college student?
So I would say don't stress over the little things, but instead continue to lay out all your plans before God. And let Him direct your steps. The Bible verse is Proverbs 16:9. So there's going to be a lot of things that happen along the way. You know, you might not have enough money to pay for school that month or something, but continue to ask God. Be like, hey, is this where you really want me to go? Is this kind of where I should be right now? What else should I be doing? Is there something I'm holding on too strongly? Maybe I should let go of some of those things.
Yeah.
Prioritize understanding and learning more about Him. Like if you want to go to college, especially like if you move out of state or I don't know, maybe even like on campus, I guess. Like if you have like a new group of friends, like how are you gonna be involved with them? They're obviously going to want to do things on campus. Like, are you going to join them? It's not like the movies where it's like the atheist professor is like, Ella, God doesn't exist. Tell me why. And now you have to like go out and tell all your classmates. It doesn't happen like that in the movie or how it does in the movies.
Yeah.
It could be just like a little conversations with professors, with your teachers in your assignments. And like, do you actually know what you believe in? How strong are you in your convictions?
Yeah.
And even it shows up even in Christian schools, honestly. Like there's people from all walks of Christian faith.
That's for sure, yeah.
And there's different kind of denominations, different experiences, different beliefs. And when I was there, at first I was kind of like, these people don't look like me. They don't worship like me. Are you sure they're actually Christians?
Yeah.
But, you know, it took some time and like understanding, like, no, they just have a different understanding and we all worship the same God. If we have the same basic truths, you know, it doesn't really matter. So.
That's for sure, yeah. I know that I was actually watching a video and the guy was like, oh, wait, I'm losing my train of thought. The guy was saying that like you kind of have to examine your foundation for your beliefs before you get into something like college. Because maybe you will have to go to a secular college and maybe there will be a point where it might not necessarily be a professor who's like a philosophical professor who's like, tell me why God exists, blah, 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 and then get into some like argument where you're probably going to fail the class because he doesn't agree with you. But there's also like situations where they're teaching like critical race theory, like all and gender and all these things. And you have to be inclusive. You have to be invited, you know, of these people. And yeah, it's true. Like you do have to be nice to those people, but you have to also give them like your beliefs, your foundational beliefs, and be like, this is what I'm sticking to. This is what I believe. I believe God created everyone equally in the image of God, but you need Christ. Like that's the one thing. So when you go into like secular colleges, you have to be sure of that. But even in a Christian college, there's so many like different people, like
very different people.
You'll run into some different denominations, run into some like Catholics even too.
I know Catholics, yeah.
Yeah, and there's just some people who aren't necessarily Christian, but they decided to go there because there's good education.
Yeah.
So I think one thing is like maybe you have been closed off a little bit from other walks of Christianity, other people. But you're gonna have to be open to those new people, to people who think differently than you, and you're gonna have to befriend them and show them Christ through you, and so I think that's really important to remember when you're going to college. So
yeah, the same professor actually that was a really scary professor that I had to talk to. He would always say that the point of education is to show you how little you know. And so like once you get to the edge of something, you're like, wow, I thought I knew so much about this. And you reach the edge and you see that, no, you actually didn't know that all about that topic, all about that subject. And that was kind of my experience also, like with like even learning more about my faith, learning more about the Bible, learning more about other people, even more about music, like so many things. You reach a certain point, you're like, whoa, I actually didn't know anything. And you take a next step and you're like, whoa, I actually didn't know anything about that either. Yeah. So it's always continually like trying to challenge yourself to understand more.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So we're nearing the end of this conversation. But Ella, I'm actually happy you got on this. I think you're a really good student, and there's a reason why I picked you to come on this episode. So I'm thankful for that. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening to Ella. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and if there's a topic you want us to go over, leave it in the comments. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Yeah.